Mid-ranges are f***ing stupid. I'm sorry, but if I wanted something to feel so blunt, I would go to the course and hang out with my boy KJ. To be fair, that might just be because my hands are smaller than a toddler's. Also, I never used to throw with a fan grip, and after that revelation, putters and mids feel so much better. Last night at League, the guys in charge thought it would be a great fucking decision to force everyone to throw only mid-ranges. Actually, it wasn't all that bad of an idea. Mostly because I had to hear so many people talk about how this is the only time they are getting practice throwing discs they typically wouldn't. Which sets off so many alarms in my head. How the hell can you have discs in your bag that you don't know how it's going to fly? That just sounds insane to me. But worse than that, this challenge included putting with a mid-range, which actually might be the stupidest thing ever. Your boy's already struggling worse at putting than when I went cold turkey from smelling Expo markers. Dark times. Not as much as that time I was actually bagging a lion. And no, Tom, that isn't a good thing. Stick to hitting trees with that AGL bullshit. You know what? Fuck it. Let's go back in time through all the stupid ass mid-ranges I used to bag. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you should be aware that this Mako 3 was the first ever disc I purchased, and it traveled with me throughout the years. It started out as a nice straight shot for my noodle arm, but as time went on, it got flippier and flippier, and I learned how to throw properly, which also helps. Eventually, it became the slow turning mid that I didn't have to worry about coming back, or if there was a hallway hole under 300 feet, I could put some hyzer on it and watch it float up to straight down the fairway. Although, I hardly used it later in my career, because I leaned heavily on my flip-up forehand game, so I let my buddy who just started playing use it. You guys have probably seen Noah on the channel before. He's the one putting with bangers and slamming twisted tees. Well, about 10 rounds into him playing disc golf, he smashed this ace. I was left with no choice but to let him hang my first ever disc on his wall.
I have that on camera. I told you you're gonna ace this one, dude. I told you you're gonna ace this one. You had disc golf for like 20 rounds, baby, bro. That's nuts, dude.
I mean, the rules are, if you ace with someone else's disc, it changes ownership like it's the Elder Wand or some shit. Thankfully, I know it won't ever get lost because unless you're as dumb as Big Red over here, you're supposed to retire your first ace disc. And if you don't, I will not give a shit if you lose it. Save the tears for your girlfriend I know doesn't exist. During the time of filming this in the bag, I was sponsored by Innova, so I did what every other person did at the time and bagged DX rocks. They weren't the worst mold in the world, and back then flexing the Huck Lab meant something. Now it just points out all the people spending a premium on a basic ass disc. Don't worry though, I was actually a complete idiot bagging a Rock 3, but come on, I was a Paul McBeth fanboy. What else was I supposed to do? I don't recommend that disc to anyone, and if you're still using it, I just gotta ask why. Which is probably what I should be saying about the Cayman, but I know for a fact this disc never came out of the bag once I started throwing the zone. It just took a while. I'm also taking this as a moment to express the zone is not a fucking mid-range. Don't give me this crap about putters are speed 1 through 3. I don't give a shit. It says approach on the damn thing. That ain't no mid-range. So when we play a fucking mid-range only round and I see someone using a zone, seems more fishy than a honky-tonk bar at 2 a.m. I still use my yarn though. But that's a 4.5 speed, whatever the fuck that means. I think the only reason the MD5 was in the bag was because I lost my Cayman and felt like I needed an overstable mid-range. Now I know, I don't need one of those stupid ass things. I just told you I have a yarn. I'm covered. Gotta be real though. I can't believe I thought it was a smart idea to throw a fucking lion. To be fair, this was still the Innova era, and I was tired of pretending the rock felt good. Only took me a few years. But holy shit, I chose the worst option possible. You know my stubborn ass could never admit that on camera though, so they would mostly just sit in my bag collecting dust. I know this whole time I've been talking about discs that were technically in the bag, but if I'm being honest, they would never get thrown. Either the zone or my putter was the first choice, and if I needed something further, I would trust a flip-up forehand or my FD before subjecting myself to the grossness in my hand. I mean, were you listening? Why the hell would I opt to throw a lion? Like, ever? However, I did have an epiphany one day when I discovered the Kastaplast fake mid-ranges, the CAX and the CAC-Z. That's the ignorant American way to say it, at least. They're called mid-range drivers, so a 6-speed with a beveled edge. To me, it was game-changing, because it actually felt good in my hand. For the longest time, I rocked with that combo in all types of wear and tear. The only issue was, they definitely threw farther than a typical mid-range, which became a problem once I learned to not throw as shitty.
Jeff, you look comfortable on those knees, dude.
Thankfully, the homie Drew Poppy finally convinced me the Buzz SS was the greatest mid ever. I think from the first day I met him, he was trying to put me on this disc, but I've always had this weird thing about me that didn't want to bag what my friends did. Probably just didn't want to admit Drew was right, but after a couple years, I found a few Buzz SS's in the bag. And most of them came from Drew himself, because unlike me, he's a good friend. I mean, look at that Barella stamp. And the Memorial is my favorite tournament. Too bad both those ended up in the water. Drew replaced those as well for me with this sweet old school Eric McCabe stamp. It's not like I wanted to bag some generic looking one, or I might get confused for a Discraft cuck, and we wouldn't want that. Okay, I know I talk hella shit about the Buzz, and you might call me a hypocrite for having one in the bag right now. But just like every girl I've been with, you should let me finish first. As always, there's exceptions to when I say don't bag things. First off, who gives a fuck what I say? I live with my mom still. Second, if you got it for free, it's fair game. And well, my homie Dylan Cease gave me this Buzz. I once had the opportunity to interview him about disc golf, and after, he asked if I wanted to toss. There's no world in which I say no to that. And same goes when the dude offered me a 6-claw Buzz. Literally the only reason that thing gets thrown, and on top of that, it only found its way in the bag after I lost my hex, which was so much better. Too bad I tried to replace it and couldn't find one that flies quite like the one before. One of the most frustrating things in disc golf, more so than being forced to use a damn mid-range to putt with for a whole fucking round. In whose brain is that a good concept? I already can't hit a 15-footer with my damn putter. Now you're gonna kick me when I'm down? Seems pretty disrespectful if you ask me. And I know Spider Zach is the one behind this bullshit, because he's the only dude I know practice putting with like 7 different mids like that's going to help any part of his game. I don't care how windy it is. You're gonna seriously tell me using the damn Buzz OS is a smart play? Never in a situation should a person use a Buzz OS, even if it's for throwing, nevertheless putting with. But that goes for about all Discraft mid-ranges. Unless you get the early bird special, then you could bag a Meteor or Comet, but you're only allowed one. And if I catch you using something as stupid as a fucking truth, I'm gonna ban you from watching the channel altogether, because clearly you aren't listening. You might have taken one too many gummies if you think that thing feels any sort of good in the hand. I would rather someone use the 148 gram DX Shark they found in a puddle somewhere that has chew marks in it. Still smarter than the people out there using a Justice, but I don't think anyone could be dumber than those idiots. Kinda like all those goofballs using the damn MD3. Could be worse, could be a compass. You know that was just a sad excuse to hopefully get the disc to fly in the right direction.
Damn.
Same goes for all those that bought a Pathfinder, only to find out they still suck. Might as well throw a lobster at that rate. At least then no one expects you to have a good throw. There's probably a big group of people waiting for me to say something about the Gator. Well, here it is. Get a different disc, you fucking dumbass. You waited just to hear you're an idiot. How does that make you feel? Oh wait, sorry. That was meant for everyone using a reactor. My bad. I mean, for the love of disc golf Jesus, just use the hex. Fun fact, Jesus doesn't bag a single mid-range, unless you count the Halo Groove. And I do not. Still better than the Fuse. For some reason, people actually like to admit they bag that shit. Just like all those noobs rocking the Rolo. It's the quickest way to spot someone who doesn't throw forehand. Only Casta Simps use the Svea, mostly because no one wants to throw a disc they can't pronounce. I guess it's better than making up words, unless the idea behind the Sol was to use the Spanish word for sun, but that sounds dumb for a one-off naming scheme, especially since there's already a theme with Page's discs. Like, the passion and drive might be stupid, but at least they follow the rules. Still better than just adding letters and numbers to the end of existing discs. Like, don't pull out the Rack X3 ABC123 if you don't want to be made fun of. I got more respect for the dudes still throwing the Stingray, and they take a pill just to get hard. At least they have a reason to get their dick all tuned up, unlike everyone using a dynamic discs mid-range. Shit, I didn't even realize I was just throwing strays at people. Kinda forgot I was talking about my evolution of mid-ranges for a second. You know what? It was probably just me projecting my insecurities. Nah, that can't be it. But that is all the mid-ranges that I used to bag. And honestly, I think mids are the most overrated disc type in the game. So drop your mid-range down below so I know what type of person you are. Because if it isn't a Buzz SS, I'm not sure if we can be friends. Just kidding, I'm friends with plenty of people that bag absolute dog shit. But make sure to subscribe to find out what other discs you shouldn't be throwing. Oh yeah, and if you want to see some of the most unnecessary discs in the game, check out the video right here.
Bang! Bang, bang.